approval must be done prior to. So again, we're just being consistent with the language that's been presented to us. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I think we're getting that understood now, so that's good. Who else has comments? Anybody else on this issue?
Lucine and Johanny have their hands up.
You got to speak
and
up, guys.
Marcia.
I cannot see your hand, so if somebody has a comment, they just have to say, "Hey, it's me." Boom, boom.
Who's going first? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Johanny.
Okay, so I just have a few questions. So the first one, in regards to the 5.5 million dedicated to housing, of the current budget, the money that was already allocated to assist tenants, have we already spent that?
No, we haven't completely spent it, and the need still arises, but that is a completely separate line item.
No, and I understand. I'm just trying to figure out, or maybe let me ask, how did you determine amounts per category? How did you come up with those numbers?
Those were deliberations internally with the mayor's office as well as the finance office. And of course, all those numbers are subject to consideration. And again, this is why we have this open, transparent process in place.
And then I have two more. So the second one is, how are we managing external requests? Because there will be more coming from a lot of folks. So I want to know, what's the process in place to manage those requests?
They all are funneled through the managing director's office, and then I consult with the mayor as well. But that's really it. And believe it or not, we don't have we don't have any stampede, just like the county. I was amazed by that conversation I had with the county commissioners recently, that there is no stampede in terms of the number of requests, and we take them each individually.
So know that I've been proactively speaking to members, my constituents, in terms of, because if other people have been able to put in their request, I'm encouraging everyone to put in a request.
Absolutely.
So we should
Everybody's
probably
welcome.
consider, I don't know if an application process, so that we can make it fair and square, so that, you know, everyone can be eligible or apply, and it's a fair process. For that, because there's more coming.
Yeah, I mean, if I may ask, because I just want to make sure that, you know, we're all on the same page, right? Are you referring to like specific grants or a specific asking for a bulk? Because if it's related to, let's say, facade programs, if it's like within the facade programs.
No, I'm talking about I'm speaking of the slide that A presented regarding external requests, like Santander, Pagoda,
Got it, clear.
Americana,
Clear.
Legion, and so on. So there are going to be other entities like Goggle Works, like the Reading Symphony
Yes.
Orchestra. Like there'll be other entities who more than likely will be putting in requests. So I want to understand how we're going to make the process for
Right. No, and that's
dispersing money fair. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
So
that's
that
perfect.
everyone can get a piece of the pie. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why we put some towards not-for-profit.
Right. That's exactly right. Yes. And I just want to emphasize that the process is fair. The process is open. The process is transparent. And we also have a responsibility to our residents as fiscal stewards. We're going to have them fill out the rubric. If it does not conform to a community need, then we simply will not be able to accommodate the request. We also want to make sure that we have an organizational structure in place. We look to see if the entity has a 501c3 status as well, which demonstrates that commitment. And we also look at other factors such as a board of directors, minutes. So we've gotten a few requests from individuals who are looking to start up organizations, but this money is not intended for startups. We're looking to supplant the efforts of already existing organizations that have already demonstrated a strong track record of public service within the community.
And I understand that. I think what I'm asking is, do we have a cap of money that we are saying that we're dedicating to nonprofits, and all nonprofits, here's an application process. So
There
you
is-
feel free to apply and submit your requests, and then we
Yes.
will
Feel free to,
review and distribute accordingly. That's what
Feel
I'm
free-
asking.
feel free to apply, and then we will consider the requests, yes.
But is there an actual application is what I'm asking, like
We have
that
a
they fill
ru-
out, or they just submit a request?
They submit a request, counselor, and then a rubric, the same rubric that you have is submitted to them. We get it back, and then we check the boxes to make sure that everything in the rubric is satisfied.
Also, if I may add, and I guess what I was trying to say before is that we also gonna ask that an amount, a large amount is put aside where a process for request for smaller ask is then provided. So if that's what you're getting to, Counselor, that have we gotten that process of application or the asking for? Not yet. We have not gotten there yet. But on the larger scale, like the manager and director said, we're considering on a face-to-face. Does that make sense?
If I could, Mayor and Abe, so we've been using the rubric that we've explained to council and the public to judge, or rather to evaluate the initial requests that have come in. Councilor Cepeda Freitas, what you're getting at, I believe, is sub-grant awards to community-based organizations. So for example, the administration has already set aside $3 million for community-based organizations to access for projects that are of note to the community. What Abe also mentioned is we are bringing on a financial services firm to help with administration of the grant funding. So among their responsibilities will include the application, the monitoring, the evaluation process for the sub-grant awards, among others that are a part of our funding as we make sure we respond accurately to the quarterly reporting that's required of the grant overall.
So I just want to just jump in here for a second. So I just think we have to be careful. So I think there's a lot of, I think we were waiting as the body for more of the definitive guidelines that were coming forward, and then getting ready to get into some of the projects that were on the list. I think what we need to do probably after the budget is slow down and take some time and go through these items and make sure we understand where we're at in the process. And make sure I don't want us to get too far ahead of the decision-making process, because we might get caught up. And everything you're doing is great, because you got to do something. You can't wait to the last minute. So I'm not undermining anything that's going on. I think you're trying to might be a little further than us in the process at this point, but some of that may be my fault as well. So I just want to suggest, I know some of this, Abe, like you mentioned, we're going to cover that during the budget because it's relative to the budget. And then the pieces afterwards, right after we're done with the budget, maybe we can get into a deeper dive on the whole ARP process, where we're at, what decisions need to be made. What's the selection process? What's the outreach? And then go from there. I just want to.
Sure, and these are topics that we can revisit every month, as we've been doing on the committee of the whole, Council President. Not a problem.
Yeah, no problem. So additional comments?
Yeah, I had two more. So
go
one,
ahead.
I don't, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but where's the rubric? So I can reference it, so I can look at it again. I'm sorry, because I don't recall the rubric. I know I've heard mention of it. And then second, in your presentation, I didn't see any mention of like maybe assistance to businesses, existing businesses that might have been impacted by COVID. And just to clarify what I was asking for, if I'm a nonprofit that was affected heavily, obviously, by COVID, and I know the city has this money, can I go onto the website and say, oh, wow, there's an application. Let me click on it and let me apply for this grant? That I was just asking if that process was in place.
I will resend. Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I will resend the rubric to you gladly. And I will also include some language in there as to how businesses can apply. I did provide a facade program bullet point in the presentation, but I'll be more than happy to flesh that out for you. So you have some talking points and things that you can take back to your constituents in terms of sharing what they can.
Thank you.
Okay, Lucine, were you next?
No, Marcia was next, and then I'll go. And Jeff, you're just having back and forth issues with your audio. It's being spotty.
I apologize.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Marcia.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment too, Jeff. It doesn't sound like you have the bandwidth to be able to maintain the signal, but you know where you're at and what your capability is.
I'll figure it out. Is that a little better?
Yeah, okay. So my questions are mostly of the technical nature because I know that this funding is out here and that different organizations have different avenues they can go by to apply for this money. It doesn't always have to be the city. And I also know that there are other grants that organizations apply for. I heard Abe use the word supplant, and I want to make it clear, at least from my perception, this money shouldn't supplant if a nonprofit is receiving other money. It should supplement. So what are we going to be doing with the application process to be able to make sure that this is additional expansion of services, or is that something that this is looked at, or is it going to be something that indeed, if organization lost money, that this is to be able to help them to refill their coffers, if it may? I just want to be really clear. So as people come into this, that they understand what are the correct uses. I know the rubric's out there and that will probably be explained at the community meetings. But even when you do that at community meetings, a lot of times in working with the nonprofit community, people aren't always on the same page.
You're absolutely right about that. That's why we need to walk them through the process as slowly and as comprehensively as possible. And to your point, you're right. The intent of the ARP money is not to supplant any shortages in budgets, but to enhance. And that's why the rubric is so important, because many of those fundamental questions are answered directly in the rubric.
Okay, and that's good to hear. And I think it's for us to do our homework. Now, as far as the budget process goes, will the city be using this money? And we'll find that out as we go through the line items to be able to enhance the city's capabilities too.
Certainly, yes.
Okay, and another, this is a small one, but it's important. The money designated for the pagoda is not external, it's internal, because any of the capital expenses of the pagoda are basically with the agreement with the foundation, the city's responsibility. So I don't want folks to think that it's an external source asking for the money. Indeed, the foundation has not looked at it. We've just been working with the city to make sure that the building and the physical plant needs are being addressed.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few questions. I think some of these have been answered. Managing Director first, can you please provide a list, if not at this time, within the week, of the members of the internal task force? You've mentioned it a couple times, so I would appreciate just knowing who is reviewing and who has been designated on that task force internally for us.
Oh, certainly.
I was going to ask if you could clearly define the role of the consultants or the scope that had been provided to them that went out with the RFP, but I think you pretty much touched and highlighted on that already, so thank you.
Sure.
I'm really happy to hear that the county continues to be a partner and that, Commissioner Rivera, in addition to the other two, have open lines of communication, because I think this is really going to be about strategy and how to best approach and use these funds, because, we are part of the county, so it makes sense that we understand what, the right and the left hand are doing together here. So I'm happy to hear that that continues, and thank you for forging those relationships and conversations. I think that too, I just want to share with other counselors, if it may be helpful, that when that rubric was released, and I believe that that rubric is on and accessible on the website, the city website, whenever anybody has come to me from District 1 to talk to me about the potential of funding, the first thing I send to them is the rubric. And then I'm, that way they can see and they can start to flesh out on their end. Is what they're thinking relevant? Does it fit into some of the criteria that the internal team of the city is looking at? So happy to, continue to do that for anybody in District 1 specifically, but it's been a good tool to use. And I think that's it. I think that, some of this other stuff, as we continue to talk about this frequently through committee of whole meetings, will be critical. I think that, you are doing a good job of getting ahead of this because you cannot wait until the very end. Supply chain and other, et cetera, right? And I think that although the majority of working through with the consultants will be at the end or after the budget process, it absolutely has to be part of the budget process because we have to understand, and I know Jamar will, I'm sure, break that down for us pretty clearly. If ARPA is being used here, how are other funds, where are we pulling from general fund, et cetera. Because as Jeff said, there's some legacy stuff here. But beyond that, just foundationally, we have to take care of our city. We have to use this once in a lifetime opportunity to really build and support the city of Reading for the future of the city. And that means that we have to take this into deep considerations. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. My video were working, you'd have seen my head nodding in approval, so thank you.
Anybody else? I can't see anybody. I'm trying to move my screen as I talk, but
Jeff, I
anybody
just
else?
have one
Go ahead,
question.
Donna.
Jeff. This is probably for Fred, as we look to consider the different applicants that have come to us. I'd like some advice from you because some of us do sit as on the board of directors of some of these organizations. For me, the History Center is one. I'd like guidance on, my assumption would be that we cannot vote on things that we play a role as a board member on, but I'd like that clearly stated for all of us so that we're on the same page when it comes to actually making those decisions. Because we certainly don't want people thinking because you're on a board, you could push something, that kind of thing. So if you could clarify that, Fred, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, and my suggestion there would be on a case-by-case basis. If you see one on the agenda, I'll give you a prompt response and as others can attest to, I will talk it out with you because not every conflict is the same. Not every board, it depends on what, the responsibilities of your membership on a board would be and what the, what's actually being proposed. So on a case-by-case basis, I'll be glad to discuss that with any council member that feels like there may be a conflict.
Yeah, and if there is, if there's and I guess what you're saying is there isn't like a blanket statement to be used, but I don't want the public to feel when they look at us and they know that some of us do sit on certain boards, that they feel that there's an advantage to that organization because of our civic roles or our individual roles on those things. So anything that can be publicly stated via, ethically through the law office, I would greatly appreciate for everyone's sake, the public's and ours as well.
Yeah, I could work on a kind of a blanket statement so people understand. I mean, it's not really fair to it's not fair to the boards you all sit on that just because they a member that it sits on the body of council, that they would be precluded or, wouldn't have the same opportunities any other board would have. So there's certainly something I could release that explains that many of the council members sit, and many members of administration and in general have a dual role where they sit on various boards on various civic and nonprofit entities throughout the city that may be requesting some of these funds.
All right.
Jeff,
Go ahead,
I need
Marcia.
to add to that. Yeah, and I think that we need to differentiate. Some of the serving on boards has to do as appointments as counselors, and whether that differs from appointments as counselors where or sitting on a board that's independent of the city. So Fred, if you could differentiate between that, because there are two boards that I sit on. One of them is going to be looking at receiving substantial dollars, and that's the Rec Commission.
Yeah, and I think we've addressed that one before, and I think I'll take a kind of a fresh look at that. But also, it does make a difference. But again, it always boils down to what the conflict is, and I don't think it's something that we can make a hard line decision on anything. But I can certainly give some guidance, and then. But most importantly, I would encourage everyone to, on a case-by-case basis, come to me and we'll discuss it. But I think for the most part, unless it's a very clear conflict where you would benefit personally, there probably won't be a conflict.
All right. Any additional comments for this specific topic this evening?
Yeah,
One
Council
last one,
President.
Jeff.
Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mayor, then John.
Mayor,
No,
you
no,
first?
go ahead, Councilor
sorry.
Tahani, and then I'll go after her.
okay. To Lucine, can you specify where you tell people to go on the website? Because I'm looking for the information or rubric regarding ARP and I can't find it. So I'm just curious as to where people are going to get the info.
Yeah, I can't say exactly where it is on the website. I actually had downloaded it as a PDF and I send the document directly to anybody who reaches out to me. I believe that it was requested or it is or should be somewhere on the website. I don't know if someone from the administration can advise on that.
I've just directed Christian to repost it if it hasn't already been, but I'm certain it's on there. But we will definitely be sure that it is.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Hello, yeah, all right. So I just wanted to thank everybody so far for their participation and the clarity on the fact that, we have to be as transparent as we always have been and continue. In fact, I specifically decided to have one of those forums in San Tripano as we want to make sure that we are as inclusive as well as possible. In fact, I haven't been able to, or haven't wanted to start using my contact in the Spanish and other hip hop stations and contacts that I have made and relationship I have built with respect to first, providing as much information as possible to council. And then we are going to roll out more information to the community as we go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mayor. We have the next item on our agenda is regarding the City Council Solicitor. Linda, the information you sent, hold on, let me look at the PDF. Is that in the back of the agenda or is that just in the separate email, Linda?
The job description is attached to the agenda, along with the salaries from Bethlehem and Scranton.
All right. Okay, so the last time we spoke, and I apologize, wasn't on the call last week, we were talking about, the new City Council Solicitor is going to be obviously something we kind of work on in progress, but there are what I want to do is make sure we understand there are some general understandings of the duties and then the protocols as it relates to as it relates to utilizing the solicitor. So we're not each individually pulling the solicitor around and running up a bill. We have to at least have some process that says, okay, this is how we're going to handle the solicitor. Linda, so does everybody have the page attached to the agenda, the committee of the whole agenda in front of them? Probably not, huh? I'll read through it. So it says that the city council solicitor will perform professional legal services for city council. The primary responsibility of the position is to advise us on questions of law and assist with legislative matters. Legal matters will be referred to the council solicitor by members of council or the city clerk. This position does not replace or usurp the city solicitor and his role as the city's chief legal advisor and representative. So there's some important stuff there. I want us to establish early on that if we're going to go to the solicitor and request information, unless it's a general inquiry, that, you know, if it's going to require research and nothing other than just a general answer, that we form a consensus that that's what we want to do. Is everybody okay with that? Comments?
Johanna has her hand up.
So,
John, I can't see it.
great point. How do we do that? What does that look like?
Well, if 4 members say, look, we want to ask the solicitor to research A, B, and C, then they have to have the commitment of 4 members and let me know and let the body know that, you know, we're going to ask such and such to review, you know, A, B, and C and determine, you know, the following information. And we have to make sure our requests are pretty well spelled out, because I think, you know, 4 members should at least come to the council president and say, I got, you know, we have a quorum here. We want to ask the council solicitor to research A, B, and C. And that way we're clear as a body, and then the whole body, obviously it's approved if 4 members want to do it, but then the body can say, all right, well, make sure you ask them A, B, and C, and we're pretty concise in our requests. Because otherwise we can go down some long and windy roads. And what I don't, and we're not going to go process, we're just trying to make sure that the majority of the body is okay with the research, and that we're going to know it's something that's meaningful that we need, you know. Those are just my opening comments. I mean, anybody want to add to that? Anybody?
Yeah, Jeff, your audio is challenging us this evening. You went in and out a little bit there.
All right, what I was trying to say, give me a second. I'm going to grab some microphones. What I'm trying to say is that we need to establish a protocol, and I'm trying to establish that if council body, if 4 members of the body want the solicitor to investigate, but it's going to require more than, you know, 20 minutes of time, then we have to build a consensus that that is what we want him to do. Does that make sense? Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so the layout, yes, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Johanny. Can you hear
So
me?
then how we do that, yes, so I just want to see if I got you right. So how we do that is pretty much amongst ourselves. We call each other up, say, hey, I think we need to do this. What do you think? Or is there like a form? Is there a step-by-step? Or is it just very informal? We just talk to each other and say, hey, we need to put in this request. I guess I was looking for process.
Well, members of, yeah, can you hear me now, guys? It's just trying to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, that's better.
Can you hear? Yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, no, you know, people talk to each other all the time. If 4 members decide that they want to do it, they can let the whole body know in an email and we can approve it. That's no problem. As long as you have 4 members willing to do it, then we'll move forward with it. We can discuss it in our regular meetings. There's no problem, you know, in a committee of the whole meeting, bringing something up and saying, I want it researched. You know, most of our business is done there. But if some people happen to be talking to each other, and sometimes people go out and try to build a consensus to see if enough people will support something, that's fine as well. At the end of the day, you want to make sure there's 4 members. We're not going to ratify by resolution every time, you know, something comes up. If there's something controversial, we certainly could do that, but I don't foresee the need to do that. just trying to build some general protocols. If you need to talk to the city council solicitor for 15 minutes to a half an hour about issues in your district or questions, I think that's fine. If any one of us thinks we're going to just send them on our own, off to research the state of Pennsylvania, third class city, blah, 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 blah. We want to avoid that. We want to make sure that a majority of the body's okay with it and we move forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I would prefer that we have this written because we do have new members coming onto our council board. And I think we should have some type of form or process, step by step, be clear for everyone.
Yeah, that's the game plan. So I'm just trying to map out a consensus if that would be okay. Yeah, we'll write it out and make it clear to everybody. And this is going to be something we adapt along the way. I can just see it because it's new. But yeah, that would be the game plan, Johnny. Map it out. It's pretty simple order here. If you have a general inquiry, you're free as an individual member to speak to the council solicitor. We just don't want individual members, including myself, asking him to go research A, B, and C. Legal things can be $5,000 or they can be $50,000. So just want to make sure that we work within our financial means, if you will, and don't create ourselves a monster or have somebody tapping the solicitor every 10 minutes for stuff that we could resolve, with a quick question. Additional comments on that?
I have a question. This is Lucille. What if we see the other side of that? So what if the city solicitor would like to assign a task to the council solicitor? Do you see that there might be a need for a consensus amongst council, at least 4 of us, before giving the green light, since that would be allocation of funds specifically from city council? So again, really is, who can give directive to the council solicitor?
Well, it's the council solicitor, sure. I mean, if he's going to request that our solicitor embarks on something that's coming out of our budget, it would require our approval. Now, our hope is that this council solicitor strengthens the city solicitor, and on an ongoing basis, they'll utilize each other as they need to. But yes, listening to your point, I mean, that's a good point. But I think Fred would do that on his own. He would come to us and say, hey.
I think the way I see that working is there's probably going to be times where I would say, as I have with the temporary council you have, it's to say, if you I would suggest that you run this by your council as well. I don't think I would punt something to that attorney or assign something with on my own. But I think there'll be plenty of times where I say, here's my opinion, but I suggest that you run this by your solicitor. Or there might be times where I say, this is really a council question. I think it's more appropriate, since you have counsel, to have your attorney advise you. I don't think it would be appropriate, to a certain degree, it might not even be ethical for me to give you my advice when I know you have counsel. I think, and to the previous point about assigning work, I think a lot of that can be the responsibility to be shouldered by the solicitor, because he or she will know when it's appropriate to take a question from an individual council member and when he or she should request, run it by Jeff and say, hey, this seems to be something that maybe the council as a whole might not want me either spending my time on or going in that direction, because it might have a policy implication that the body of council as a whole does not, agree on. And it might be, kind of an issue that affects only that certain council member. And I think that's something that could be worked out where that, and I'm confident that whoever you pick will be very capable of making those decisions.
And again, this is a starting point. We'll document it, and that way we at least all have an understanding. I didn't want to at least define something, and we have more time to further define this for tonight. I just want to get that protocol down. And then maybe next week we can talk a little bit more about the roles and responsibilities of the council solicitor overall. Linda, did you gain a final tally? I never did get a clear direction on that.
Yes.
We're planning on putting that up in 2 weeks. Was that the game plan?
By resolution, you mean?
Yeah,
I think you need to speak with the candidate first and nail down the salary.
all right, okay. So let's take a moment. All right, we'll do that next Monday. We're gonna take some time and go over the roles and responsibilities of the solicitor. We might even have time to come back to it here this evening. We're just a
You
little
do?
behind schedule. We're a little behind schedule. So let me just see something here. ARPA, council solicitor. Let's see if we have time at the end of this agenda. We'll come back to the roles and responsibilities and then the salary of the solicitor. We're not going to get through all that tonight, but I'd like to start it. But instead of holding up the agenda, I want to get through the next section of the agenda, and then we'll come back to that. Is that okay? All right. All right, we're going to move on to Redistricting Committee. Linda, did you want to lead the way on this?
Well, the down and dirty on the redistricting committee is the social media outreach we did has generated no applicants. So it's time to start outreaching individually to people that you believe are qualified to fill those positions. Each one of you gets one pick. So there should be one from each council district, and then Jeff gets to choose one at large.
And have we gotten any submissions yet?
No, like I said, we've not had any applicants so far.
Wow. All right, so what's our timeline, Linda, again?
We were supposed to make those appointments this evening.
Oh, wow. What's our deadbeat absolute timeline?
Well, it's
To
really,
this evening?
yeah, as soon as possible. It would be
All right, so this
preferable
is
if you
it.
could, if we could have some appointments in 2 weeks, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so I'm guilty of it too. I guess I'm going to suggest that we all have a recommendation or two, or at least if you speak to an individual and they can commit, that's a sound recommendation. We have to get, each of us have to get somebody into Linda by the end of the week. Could everyone commit to that? Because this is a serious issue and it's something we have to get ahead of. Is everybody all right with that? I thought I came up with an appointment, Linda. You never asked them, huh?
Council President, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
I know it's a small item, but I'm looking at section 5-214, the redistricting process. And under letter B, the last sentence reads, this group shall prepare and present a redistricting proposal to the full body of council in no less than 120 days after their appointment. Should that read no more than 120 days? In other words, why would you penalize the group for having something prior to 120 days? And again, it's something minor, but I just wanted to call that to your attention to see perhaps that wording should have read no more than 120.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Who can answer that question?
I nominate Fred.
Fred, Linda, anybody?
We can take a closer look at it. I don't want to take up valuable time, but just
Okay.
something that caught my eye, Council President. I'm happy to look into that myself and get back to the body.
All right, and Linda, again, the administration, they have appointments to the redistricting committee as well?
They do not,
They do not, okay.
because it
All right,
doesn't
just council.
affect,
So count,
it doesn't affect the
All right,
administration.
Councilman-
The mayor is elected at large.
Yeah.
okay, council members, is everyone able to commit to an appointment by the end of the week?
Yeah.
Because if you're not, we're gonna have to figure something out.
Okay, what
Right.
happens if we can't get someone by the end of the week?
Well, then we might be able to help you get someone is what I'm thinking, Melissa.
I might need help, yeah.
Okay, so I want you to either have an appointment by the end of the week or let Linda know by like Wednesday if you can't, if you don't have time. And then that way we can try to get ahead of it. Everyone's all right with that?
Yes, quick comment question, Jeff.
Yeah.
Did we come up with a summary of what we're looking for in this person to serve in this committee? Like what kind of skill set, experience? Because I know it's very, like what we're looking to do is very particular. So do we have?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we have anything defined like most of our boards and authorities, but it's a good question, Johnny. Somebody who's familiar with the city, right? That would be important, is familiar with the voting process and the importance of redistricting. You know, sometimes these things are controversial. They shouldn't be for the city of Reading, but
It should be,
you know, when you start,
totally apolitical, be a part of your cause. It should be totally.
yes, but
apolitical. It should also be someone who has knowledge and work with statistics and numbers. Because the whole concept is you want to make the numbers as equitable as possible. So
well, they have to have general number knowledge. I wouldn't say you have to be,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean, Don? I mean,
Okay.
you'll scare everybody away. I mean,
Okay.
it's,
I mean, you want somebody that can understand how you're trying to get each district to be even numbers of residents. That's very critical, you know.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And
So,
now
yeah,
with-
John, I
with
mean,
an
it's a good
increase
question.
in our population, it's going to take a closer look at the census tracts than maybe the last redistricting did, because we have had that pop of growth. So people do have to understand. You have to. I think the point to make is, you know, we want people who are serious about the process. And again, nothing political, nothing cause oriented. Simply the process to make sure every district is equitable to the other.
Additional comments, anyone? On redistricting?
Do I understand correctly that it seems that the initial appointment would be for 120 days? Is that basically within that time frame? Then as a committee, they can decide when and where and how they're going to meet and you know, present their recommendation. But that's the initial commitment, right? That's the ask of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the commitment, not the initial one. After
That's
120
the
days.
commitment, period.
Right.
Okay. And can these individuals also be currently serving on other boards, authorities, and commissions?
They can serve on authorities, not boards and commissions.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, good. All right, so we'll try to speed it up, Linda. You're gonna have to let me know by the end of the week if we're not up to speed. So that'll be a focus this week. Everybody should remember by Friday to get a name to Linda, most preferably somebody you've talked with and who can commit to the process. That would be helpful. All right, the next item before agenda review is the deconversion incentives. Now, this is a topic of discussion that can go down a lot of windy roads. I know the administration is working on, you know, devising something towards housing. This could certainly be part of it, but I know that Donna, you wanted to speak to the issue. Let's try to keep ourselves to the 20 minutes tonight. I'm referring to everybody, including me. So, you know, I just don't, because housing can take us down a lot of windy roads. So, Donna, I know your concept has been what we've talked about a lot in the past, is trying to deconvert multi-unit properties to establish more, you know, single home properties, which, you know, does stabilize neighborhoods. I think we've all seen that. So I'll turn it over to you and let you share your thoughts.
Yeah, and again, I've had a really good, strong conversation with Alan Schuman, who presented and Frank, if you would chime in as well. Frank, I see you're on the call, because Frank and I both spoke with Alan at the same time. He had a lot of, it's sort of an older guideline kind of thing that he had pulled together. I thought a lot of it makes sense as a basis to start looking at, you know, some kind of official policy. And it isn't just looking at deconverting for a homeowner, although that's preferable to take a multi-unit and make it a single family, because most of our homes were designed to be single family. but also taking extreme multi-units, some of the bigger homes that were maybe 6 units, and deconverting them to 3 units or something. But there would need to be obviously very clear guidelines laid out. There would need to be incentives, maybe reducing the number of units in a property if it wasn't owner occupied, so that it would make sense for the landlord or investor to do it. Also, when it is a homeowner, if there is deconversion from multi-units to single family for a homeowner, either some grants and or tax abatement for X amount of time that would make sense for the investment that would be put into the property. The benefits certainly are, as you pointed out, Jeff, densifying, which will be beneficial to the school district and to our services, fire, police, those kind of things. You know, the concept would be, do you want to do it? Should we go forward? Would the policy be citywide, or would you start in certain areas as pilots to see if this does work? Maybe historic district areas, major corridors that come in and out of the city from residential commercial zones, and then finally maybe making it citywide. So these are just some thoughts, some ideas. I think the ultimate benefit would be a stronger housing stock here in the city. Again, I think it would ease. It goes hand in hand with easing some of the parking situations, maybe some of the social ills when so many people are crowded in small row homes that have been made 3 units or more that were never ever designed for it. Social issues come out of that kind of, you know, crowding and people being on top of each other. I think there's a lot of benefits for us to look into it, to actually look into it. We've talked about it back and forth over the years, but we've never taken any action. We've seen with the last census, we've seen our population to be looking at around 95,000, changing the classification of the city. We haven't even talked about that and everything that goes with that. Now is the time to consider this, especially also as we look to the downtown plan. If we go with what Stantec's telling us, and we're looking at what 1,000 to 1,500 new apartment units, how that's going to increase our population in the core. This might be the time when people might go to those kind of apartments to then help stabilize our housing stock through incentivizing deconversions. I think there's a lot of, as you would say, Jeff, moving parts to this, but if there's ever been time to do it, now is the time. And let's move forward.
Okay, so before we open it up to everyone else, I just, so the administration drives, you know, the housing strategy. I would encourage everybody who wants to embark on these types of programs to work directly with them as well, sharing these
I'd
ideas.
Be willing to do that. I'd like to do that.
And allowing them to incorporate it, because council doesn't drive, as you know, the results. I mean, we don't.
But we can advocate.
Don't have that.
We can
certainly
advocate, Jeff.
We can advocate.
And
I just
Council
reminding
President,
everybody of that.
if I could add very quickly, I want to commend Councilor Reed for her vision on this, because reducing housing density in targeted areas throughout the city not only provides for more parking, more home ownership, reduced crime, and overall improvement in the quality of life for residents, but it just sends the right message in terms of investment. Now, I think council members should know that the Department of Community Development, especially Dave Parrish, put together an outstanding memo in terms of incentives and enforcement that I'm more than happy to share with everybody. And as you probably know, we have 9 zoning districts in this. And the conversion of single-family dwellings to multifamily use is prohibited in 7 of the 9. The 2 that are not are commercial core, CC, and commercial residential, which is CR. So council can take some action to ensure that the entire city has that designation. And some of the incentives and enforcement could include a streamlined approval process, coordinated inspections, waived or reduced fees, expanded tax incentives, financing for construction in historic districts, financing to promote single family use, financing to promote owner occupancy, and also deed restrictions. And thanks to Bowski, who is just really resourceful, he came across a reduction in density program in November of 1995 that provides matching grants for units city, and they had some targeted areas in this. What I'm going to do, with your indulgence, Council President, is just share the memo with you that Dave was great enough to author, and also send you what Council considered in November 1999, and then we can continue those discussions. But again, I want to thank Councilor Reed for taking the lead on this legislatively, and for the Department of Community Development for also putting together this terrific memo.
All right, let's open up. Anybody else have a comment on this specific topic as well? Please just announce yourself because I'm having a difficult time seeing the screen.
Okay, Jeff, it's Marcia. And I want to thank Donna for following through with this. It's been very apparent in the area that I live in, which in fact has a lot of single-family homes that haven't been converted, how that has improved the quality of life. And for those properties that have been converted, and they have been there for a long, long time before anyone was looking at it, you run into problems with the parking, with sewage, with trash. I think it does impact on crime. So this city doesn't have the capability of handling but so many people, and they need to be handled in a healthy way. I do want to give a warning though, just when we do this, because I think it is a good action, that we have to also understand that people that live in single family homes sometimes overcrowd those homes too. And that we have to, from a codes aspect, be willing to monitor the capacity, whether it be single family or multifamily units, just how many people should be housed in any single dwelling. And I saw that happening again in my neighborhood. The people were using their living rooms for bedrooms and such, and mattresses abound. So we just have to be very cautious. But any way that I can assist with this, I have real time, how can I say, the experience in living in my neighborhood, how it benefits from having single family homes.
Anyone else on this topic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right. I have a suggestion that I made several times at council when people are cited for this and that and this time when they purchase a home. I think the administration and council should get together and come up with something to be distributed to all these realtors that are selling these homes now, tell them what we expect, and they must abide by it. In other words, a single family dwelling with 2 bedrooms, you can't have 6, 7, and 8 people. Okay, and I think it's only reasonable that people understand this. And they're coming here ready, and doesn't matter who they are, but they're filling up these homes with 3 and 4 and 5 families where it should be 1 family. But again, I truly think the administration should get something together and distribute to the realtors what we expect of them when they're selling a property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Strat. Any additional comments, anyone?
Hey, Jeff,
No?
it's Lucine. Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I want to thank Donna. I think this is a critical issue. And you know, I think timely, I agree. Especially when, you know, we have preliminary feedback from Stantec saying housing. I think that a couple pieces. One, I want to ensure that the administration is set up for success, so that if we do follow through, they have all the resources at their fingertips to be able to effectively manage a program like this. You know, in addition to that, I think that what I'd love to see is, you know, whatever Frank had found in reduction in density, whatever exists, when reviewing that, it would be I think, beneficial to give it strength, draw the lines in which it intersects with current priorities of the administration. So, if parking, because we're doing parking study, if it can help alleviate there, if it's talking about quality of life issues, perhaps it would help with the climate change and the action plan there to make our city a little bit more sustainable. So to find those areas, and again, always partners with our community. I think Strat's point on realtors is relevant. But I think beyond that too, somebody like, the Visitors Bureau is touting then, neighborhoods and why, the city of Reading now has become a destination and a place for you to invest, in a single family home. Because I think part of the issues of what we've talked about and what we've struggled with as a city is that we're a very transient city. And so I think if we encourage deconversions and we do have, local single family home ownership, we start to see a revival of that. That can really help some of these neighborhood and block by block issues and quality of life issues that we talk about when right now we see such a transient community. And even from one side of the city to another, that type of disruption to a family and to us within the school district and within our park systems and within parking. I mean, it's real. And so I think that there could be great value. But again, I want to make sure that everybody's ready for a program like this, that it makes sense in matching with the administration's priorities. They have the resources that they need and that our partners are outlined. So ultimately we can be successful.
All right, thank you, Lucine. Anybody else?
Jeff, if I can say one thing real quick, I've had some talks with a few realtors and they seem very interested because of course deconversion will increase the value of housing in the city. And there's a couple realtors who are independently doing this. And I won't say the names because I won't put anybody on the spot, but one has done a property in the 900 block Pear Street, and it looks stunning. A small road that he took, invested in, and made it into single family without, privately using his own money, as flippers do. But I think the more we can show these examples along with legislatively working on this, it will be appealing to people to see how beautifully you can live in one of these homes that has been around for so long, maintaining original woodwork, but having newer kitchens. Some of the folks have really done stunning work, and that's been a real help to our city. So I think if we can pull all this together and then market it, we can get it done legislatively and agreeably do a strong market, working with the realtors, that would be very, very good.
All right.
Sorry, Jeff, one other thing, I know that we, it seems that, facade improvements have been earmarked potentially. That goes hand in hand with something like this as well. And we've seen successful facade improvement programs throughout the city in different areas. So I think, this really could work out if we could all work together on making it happen.
All right, any additional comments?
Just, Jeff, what the next step is for us legislatively, so it doesn't just become a memo, so that we can actively be helpful in making this program go forward.
Well, again, legislatively, we can't push legislation up. You got to work with the administration and see if we can incorporate some of these concepts.
That's what I'm asking, how we can.
I have to get with them and integrate it into their overall housing strategy. And then at that point, we can, talk about, what legislation is needed, but we can't just draft legislation thinking it's going to.
Sure, I understand that.
Go off
But
on its
I just
own.
want us to keep moving on this so it doesn't go in the back burner like it has since 1999.
All right, well, I would suggest you find some time with Abe and the mayor, and really what I would do is put together an overall presentation, share it with council, share it with the mayor and the managing director, and see if it's something they can build in to the overall strategy. Because, you know, ideas are easy. I shouldn't say that. I was just telling this to somebody the other day, but ideas are easy. There's lots of ideas. Results are earned. So for us to have those types of results, somebody's going to have to drive them. You know what I mean? Whether it's a council member or two working with the administration.
Totally
do-
agree, Jeff. Don't want it to sit around since 1999. Don't want it another 22 years of sitting around.
I hear you. All right. So Donna, I would encourage you to schedule some time with Abe and, you know, bring another council member or two along if there's others that want to assist in the process. I try to have conversations with them occasionally about housing and codes, but there's always room for input. And, you know, they manage the day-to-day. They're the ones that can tell us whether or not it can or can't be done or how to best do it so that then if there is needed legislation, we can move that forward. Right. All right. Any additional comments? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the agenda review. Please just give me half a second here. All right. We don't have a real long agenda this evening, but there's. All right, so this evening, I believe we don't have any items. Well, first of all, we have a couple proclamations, one proclamation and a commendation to iLead. Who is reading these proclamations this evening? One for the Hispanic Heritage Month.
Johanny is reading them.
Okay. All right, so we're all ready to go, and they're going to be joining us on the Zoom call?
Yes, they've been sent invitations.
Okay. All right, Linda, do we have anybody scheduled to speak yet this evening?
We have one person to speak in person.
In the pen room?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll have Donna read the guidelines and just keep time for us so we're not, you know, way out of proportion, please. All right, that's the only speaker, one speaker. Hopefully they'll show up. And then we have our agenda, but we don't really have any consent agenda items this evening. So that's pretty quick, right, Linda?
Correct.
We have the mayor. Mayor will be joining us for the administrative report, I'm assuming?
Yes, indeed.
All right. And then the auditor's report. And then we have 1, 2, 3. We've got 8 ordinances for final passage. One of them, we've had a request to table. I'll address that when we get there, number 75. The first ordinance is vacating and removing the topographical survey of the city, a portion of the city right away for SR 3422, known as Penn Street, and authorizing the execution of a deed transferring the vacated portion of the right-of-way Penn Street to the Reading Area Community College. Any comments or questions on this specific ordinance? I know there's been a little bit of, I don't know what's been spread, a little bit of rumor about this ordinance. This is, again, a small slither of property that has already been kind of considered part of the college property. It's just never been officially incorporated into their property. Is everyone okay with that ordinance?
Yes.
Any questions? All right. The next ordinance is Bill number 73-2021, authorizing an increase in the base salary of the wastewater treatment plant laboratory supervisor by $5,000 a year, payable in equal bi-monthly installments, retroactive to January 21st, 2021, due to an increase in responsibilities. Any comments or questions on that specific ordinance?
Johanny here. So
All right, the next.
Jeff, it's Johanny. So
Go ahead, Johnny. Yep.
what's the total that this person will be earning?
I don't know if somebody has that handy or not. Jamar or Abe, any of you have that information handy by chance?
I'm pulling up the budget book now. 1 second, Counselor.
Yeah, there's no, that information isn't included in the agenda memo or the ordinance. Maybe. Stan, can you answer that question?
Linda, I can hear you
Yeah.
now.
Okay,
Sorry about that. I couldn't unmute. I apologize. I will have the information for you in about 2 seconds. Johnny, I do not have my book in front of me.
I have it if you're ready. It's budgeted at $54,386 currently.
Currently, we're bringing it under 60,000, so it'd be 59,000. Thank you, Jamar.
All right. Is that good, Johanny?
Yes, thank you. And I'm assuming the responsibilities, obviously, the additional responsibilities began as of January 1st.
Yes, they did. Actually, they began probably in the September timeframe of 2020.
All right, we're going to move on to, if there's no additional questions on that ordinance, we're going to move on to ordinance number 74-2021, amending the City Code Chapter 576, Vehicles and Traffic, Part 13, Motorized Devices, Section 1306D, by adding the requirement for the ATV dirt bike owner to provide proof of title and proof of insurance prior to releasing the vehicle. Any comments or questions on this one? I think we reviewed this one a few times up till now, but there still may be some questions. Everybody's okay with that? All right, the next ordinance is ordinance 74-2021, amending the City Code Chapter 576. I'm sorry, we did that one. Ordinance 75-2021. There's been a request from the administration to table this ordinance. Does anybody object to that this evening? I think Abe told me you need just another 2 weeks or so, right?
Yes, sir, just to have a more internal meeting.
All right, will somebody make the motion then to table that ordinance?
Jeff,
When we
Johanny
get-
has a comment.
Yeah, are we also tabling then the other bill that relates to the same position ordinance? The bill number 77, 2021 F?
No.
Bill 75 is
Sorry,
related.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one, I'm so sorry. Is D.
Right. All right, any other any questions on that ordinance being tabled? If not, I'm going to move on to ordinance 76, 2021, Chapter 23, Part 7, by repealing the Minority Business Procurement Advisory Board and replacing it with the Equal Business Opportunity Advisory Board. Any comments or questions on that specific ordinance? All right. If there are no comments, we'll move on to the next ordinance, ordinance number 77-2021, amending the position ordinance by increasing the base salary of the auditing coordinator by $3,600, which is available from salary savings in the salary line item of the city auditor 2021 budget, bringing that salary up to $55,000. Any comments or questions on that ordinance? Anybody? No? All right, we will move then to the next ordinance, Bill 78-2021, amending the Fund 43 City Facilities Construction Fund budget, ordinance reallocating $1 million in funding for the construction of the new 9th and Marion Fire Station. Any comments or questions on that ordinance? All right. And then the final ordinance is number 79-2021, amending the City Code Chapter 62, New Officers and Employees Pension Fund by adding a defined contribution plan for employees hired beginning January 1st of 2022. Any comments or questions on that
That's
ordinance?
the one, Jeff, I meant. I'm sorry. If that one was also going to be tabled.
I'll ask Abe to answer that. I think it's unrelated, but I may be wrong.
You are correct. The only one we're asking for is bill number 75. Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions on the ordinances? All right, that'll move us to resolutions. We only have 3. Well, I'm sorry, there's one introduction of a new ordinance, and that ordinance is authorizing the transfer of $29,717 from the Public Works General Fund Street Division budget to the Public Properties Division General Fund budget to pay for the new NECO replacement duplex water pressure booster pump system. Jesus Lord, at the Public Works Center. Anybody have any comments or questions on that one?
My only comment is I want to see it when it's done. I like the name of it.
Yeah, that's quite a feature, I'll tell you what. Okay, so we'll move on to resolutions. The first resolution is to approve or disapprove the certificate of insufficiency issued to the We the People Circulators Committee for the Toxic Trespass petitions as per Charter Section 1105, Initiative and Referendum Procedure after filing. Part B, the charter requires the collection of 2,000 signatures, and 1,737 signatures were submitted, 263 less than the required amount. So I did send out a couple emails on this topic, specifically around the fact that the charter requires 2,000 signatures. There's really nothing in the charter that allows, if only 2,000 were received, there's nothing that allows us to approve a shortfall. I mean, we'd be up against the charter. So I'm going to ask Fred to make some comments, and then I'll open it up for additional questions. But Fred, do you have a brief comment on that issue?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can vote any way you want, but the charter says what it says. You know, there's no hardship or there's no exception to the rule. It's 2,000 votes, and there's an appeal process. So if, you know, a judge could potentially rule, you know, in a way that would consider, you know, what I think the extenuating circumstances are, but I don't think it's within the purview of council to make those types of judgment calls. It's kind of a, you know, you're calling balls and strikes, you know, it's 2,000 or no. And I think the certificate, and I think the certificates themselves are posted on the website so that you can see that they, you know, fell short. But that's kind of what you're being asked to do, is to yay or nay on the certificate that the city clerk filed.
Right. Questions, anyone?
Johanny here. So if the charter reads a particular way, why are we tasked with approving or disapproving? I'm a little confused.
Well, I think we're approving her findings. If I'm not correct, I'll let Fred speak to it, but go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, it's kind of silly, to be honest, that, you know, but it's required. I mean, it's just a step in the process. You know, and we've gone through this before where we didn't do it this way, and it's, you know, it's just council has the power, so it has to go to council to make the ultimate decision, because that's the way the charter reads.
So we are approving or disapproving the work that Linda did in verifying the signatures?
Correct.
And this is what we've always done? We've always done this way?
Well, we've done it in the different ways and gotten cases, you know, there's cases in the past where the court ruled against us because of the way that we've handled it. So this is, you know, we've now kind of worked our way through this, where we've realized this is the proper way. Council votes, and then if depending on how you vote, if you vote to approve the certificate of insufficiency, then the petitioners have an opportunity to appeal that directly to the Court of Common Pleas.
One last thing. So why couldn't they go, and please educate me. So they couldn't go back and get the remainder of the 2,000 signatures to put this on the ballot for like future, like for spring elections or something like that?
Just like the way we've had to do it, I think that the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans law would require them to do it within a certain time frame. Also, you have, the way our charter reads is that you have to do it within a certain time frame to get the 2,000. It's not like and to keep going until you get there. There's a like, and I think maybe Linda can help me out, but I think it's like 60 days or from the
65
moment
days
you
start.
yeah.
65
So
days start, then they get a 2-day amendment period.
and we are trying to amend this to be more simplified. It is confusing. We've stumbled on it ourselves, and we've put forward something that's that more closely resembles the third-class city code, which I think kind of gets it right. This is, I think it was meant to, it wasn't meant to be this confusing, but in practice, it's turned out to be that way.
And then one last thing, didn't we recently vote on like the election board handling some of these petition matters? Didn't we make some type of amendment so that any?
We are trying to get this section amended, but that ultimately, just like this, would have to go ultimately to the voters. So hopefully there is an amendment. And I've explained to people that have been inquiring in the past that a lot of this also follows state law. So our charter is a little, I think didn't fully contemplate the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plan law, which preempts anything in our charter that it gives a time frame and all that. So I think, at the end of the day, the other problem is they're going to have the same problem we had in terms of the Board of Elections has a time frame where they have to place charter amendments on the agenda, and that comes from the Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans law. So there's that as well. But ultimately, the question I think that's directly in front of you is whether they have enough signatures.
There's one barrel in there, just for the barrel. All right, I'm sorry.
No, I was finished.
But
Jeff,
wasn't there a question concerning?
Yeah, go ahead, Marcia, and then Strat.
okay, just to be clear, so if we concur with the certificate of insufficiency, we then approve it. So if we're saying that what the city clerk found is correct, we approve the certificate. I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
because we have an either or thing, that everyone's on the same page here.
Yeah, and somebody's going to have to make a motion to unlike regular votes, this one you'll have two options for the first person who makes the motion. It would be motion to approve or motion to deny. So it's a little different, just so when we get there, keep that in mind.
Right, and getting back to, certainly COVID probably impact this. We don't really have the other, we, like Fred said, we could approve it, but we'd be up against a charter violation because the charter, the word it uses is must have. It doesn't even say shall. Usually it says shall. In this case, it says must. So I don't want us to think we're the enemy here. We certainly want people to be able to submit petitions, and maybe they can get some relief in the court who have a little more leeway than we do. Am I correct, Fred?
Right. A judge can, I mean, in this case, there's the timing of it. I can't imagine a judge could do anything, but I don't know. That's up to a judge. And they have they have powers that frankly, none of the people on this screen right now have.
Right.
And,
Right.
They are going to make, it is a heartstrings argument. I mean, they got 1,600 signatures, it's an that's an impressive endeavor, but unfortunately, the charter says what it says.
Right.
May I add something? My name is Caesar Cepeda. I am,
Hold on a second. Hold on. No, Caesar, I wasn't sure who was speaking, but no, this is not a public comment period. I apologize, but
Fred is saying it's wrong.
yeah, Caesar, no, Caesar, stop. Whoa. Please hold off on any comment. I'm trying to run the meeting here, guys. Council, any additional comments on this issue?
I think Strat had a comment, Jeff.
Go ahead, Strat.
If you recall, Fred, approximately a year ago, there was a similar petition like this concerning an issue on trash pickup and everything else. And the decision had to be made because they didn't have enough signatures. Is this correct?
I assume so. I don't even think they presented anything. That kind of died on the vine.
Correct. They never submitted the petitions.
Because they didn't have. Thank you.
All right. Additional comments?
Yeah, so are we voting on this tonight, or is the wording gonna be clarified? What are we doing?
No, we're voting on it tonight. Somebody will make a motion to approve or disapprove, and if they get a second, it'll be voted on, and then it'll be done.
Yeah, if I plan to make the motion, if unless another counselor wants to approve.
Yeah, it's up
I
to
have
you
a
guys.
question regarding that. Is there a way to respond to the question with approve or disapprove to avoid the two motions, or do we have to do it the way that was outlined by
Well,
the
I believe that
solicitor?
if it's
Can you
brought to the
clarify?
body, we have to make a decision one way or the other. Fred, am I correct?
Yeah, I think whoever makes the first motion if the first motion is to say approve, you would vote on that, and if you get if you get 4 votes, the motion would pass, and we'd move to we'd move on. If it was voted down, then someone else could make a motion to disapprove, or vice versa.
Lucy, clarify the question. I don't think we answered that correctly, please.
My question is, when we call for the vote, can we respond to the call as approve or disapprove instead of yes or no? Or do we have?
You have to do yes or no. That's why I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I get it. That's why I specified, because the only options are yay or nay. So that's why the resolution reads the way it does, so that somebody can make a motion and then you'll vote on that. What's presented, if there's a second.
Okay, thank you. So I'm in support, Marcia, of what you presented to call for the approval.
All right, any additional comments on this resolution? All right, we're going to move on then to the next resolution. That is ratifying the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Reading and ASME Local 2763 for the 2021-2022 time period regarding salary changes and other provisions effective dated January 1st of this year. Jamar, Abe, somebody want to just give us a real high level on that quick, please?
I'll defer to Jamal.
Council President, members of council, the biggest change to this contract includes a 4% salary increase for the rank and file employees. That would be retroactive to January 1 of this year and cover a similar percentage for 2022, 4% for each year. This is on par with what the AFSCME supervisors unit was approved by council back in, I believe, July of this summer.
Okay, questions, council?
Yes, Johanny here. Who was part of the negotiations for that? Who was the group?
The managing director, myself, and the HR director.
Okay, and how did we come up with a 4% increase?
The members of the bargaining unit made a request. We evaluated their request. We considered it with what other bargaining units received. We also considered the considerable contribution made by our non-uniform employees during the height of the pandemic and agreed to make that investment.
And do we have performance evaluations?
That process will begin on January 1st, rather, pursuant to a notification that came from the HR director just this past week, actually.
Additional questions, anyone on the contract?
Yeah, it's Maria.
Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
This is for the union that hasn't received a raise this year so far,
That is
right?
correct, the rank and file ASME unit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's me again. So is this in addition to the 2.5 that was allocated for everyone to get an increase for this year?
So as a reminder, they did not receive that increase. That was, if you will, a budget line put in. The bargaining process determines the final percentage, and that is 4%. So no, they did not previously receive the 2.5% that council had earmarked for.
Jeff, this is Marcia. I just think, and as we move into the budget process, it's important to be able to clarify that what we allocate to the money doesn't put that money out in any way. There's another set of processes that need to happen, either whether it's salary increases, whether it's contracting out services. So we're just budgeting the money, which can also change during the year, but we aren't actually putting it out on the street, if you may. So it doesn't automatically happen with us passing the budget.
All right.
Am I correct, Managing Director? I just want to clarify.
So
That is correct. Go ahead.
All right. Are there additional questions on this resolution? Anyone?
Yes, it's Johanny. So okay. So I just want to clarify. So while we approved the 2.5% increase for every single employee of the city of Reading, according to the budget for 2021, you're saying that not everyone received that allocation. However, now, once this contract gets approved, they will get a total of 4% increase retro to January 1st, even though we didn't allocate that amount of money in the budget.
That is correct.
How do we cover that expense?
That's a good question, yeah.
That expense is covered through additional savings in other areas of the budget.
Such as?
I don't have a specific line item in front of me, Counselor. You'll see in the upcoming audit that we produced a surplus of $2.4 million during the pandemic of 2020. So at least for the last 8 years, the city administration has achieved budget surpluses each year. There has been no deficit. So we almost always have savings, at least for the last 8 years running consecutively.
Now, Jamar, just for a point of reference, do you know the difference? What is that cost, that difference, that 2.5 to the 4? Any idea? What was budget opposed to what actual is? Do you have that amount?
I don't have it in front of me. I can get it for you.
Additional questions?
Yeah, and Jeff, just a clarification for, as we move into the budget process and we've entered into a collective bargaining agreement, then these amounts that have been approved in the contracts will be included in the budget allocations. Am I correct, Jamar?
They are included in the budget allocations, yes. And with all of these contracts now having been negotiated, the rates are already set for 2022. So there will be no adjustments to any of the bargaining unit employees in 2022. Those have been set by those bargaining agreements that council have approved, and this one will come up for final approval tonight.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions on this resolution? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the final resolution. And this is an appointment of Nehemiah Diaz-Lopez to the Youth Commission. Any comments or questions about this appointment?
Johanny here, phenomenal young man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was left speechless by his interview. He was just so ahead of the game in every way he needed to be. So we have a really powerful youth commission at this point. And thank you, Johanny, and I guess Lucine, for attending the last meeting. I like the direction they're going.
Okay, if there's no other, all right, that's it for the agenda. Any other comments regarding the agenda this evening? If not, we're not gonna have time to get into the city council solicitor. We only have about 15 minutes. Are there any other items for public discussion this evening? Either members of the body or members of the administration, something that somebody needs to get out on the table? Now's the time.
I get the opportunity to talk, Jeff.
What was that comment?
Do I get the opportunity to speak on behalf of the initiative?
No, not during this meeting, unfortunately. Did you sign up for the public meeting?
Yes, I have.
No, you have not.
Fred Latcher invited me today because of the fact that he told me automatically that,
All right, hold on, guys. Hold on, sir. Hold on. Linda, did he sign up to speak for the public meeting?
He did not register with me, no.
All right. Well,
Linda already knew I was
gonna be here today. Stop. Hey,
I don't think
stop
it's fair
talking.
that the people of the city are ready.
Caesar, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. You're gonna have you removed. You're not gonna.
Point of order.
Right. Yeah,
Point of
call
order.
Let's go. Gentlemen, you gotta stop. You're not gonna yell in our meetings, okay? We
I'm
will.
not yelling, but what it is this is wrong, and you guys gotta realize that it should at least get 5 minutes. I'm sitting here the whole day.
I've asked you to stop speaking.
Mute
All
on
right.
their end.
This is your last time, or we're gonna have you removed. I don't want to do that, but you can't yell in our meetings, okay? Please stop.
Why do you guys?
I asked you to stop. All right, we're gonna adjourn this meeting. Linda, call me on the cell phone. I want to see everybody at 7 o'clock at our regular business meeting connection. Abe, are you in the building?
No, sir, I'm
Hey.
not in the, no, I'm
Is
not
there
in the
somebody
building.
in the building? I need somebody to get down to the pen room.
I'm here. This is Frank. I'm in my office.
Okay. All right, I need you to go down. I need somebody to get down to the pen room. And Linda, call me on my cell in 2 minutes. The body, I will see you at 7 o'clock on the Zoom meeting. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, the police officer's down in the bedroom now.